Hey, I'm John. This is Mr. G's Workbench. If you're a first-time viewer, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. Today, in part 4, we're going to get the wings, fins, and the stabilators onto the fuselage of the MiG-25. We'll see if it'll actually look like an airplane by the time we're done. As always, before I forget, thanks to Jim at Kitmaker for providing the kit we've been building. And again, thank you guys for your comments and your support and your feedback. Let's get started. All right, when we left off at part 3, this is what we had. There's our fuselage. We're going to set that aside. So here we are. The main wings going together in step 14. You're going to need B2, C2, and then we've got E5, D13, E3, and G8. Similar parts for the other side. We'll set these aside. First thing we can discuss is the fit of these two wing halves together, the top and the bottom of the wing. They fit together like this, but based on a test fit, you can see by the light here that this bottom part sits lower than the bottom of the molded in part of the wing here. So I'm going to have to shim that up. By the way, I've had questions about that sound, that high-pitched sound you hear. That's Dexter. He's sleeping right now. He can't be bothered. So, like I said, I'm going to have to just shim up along the edges here to get that a little even. And the next part we have to deal with here, this is really my "you've got to be kidding me" moment, is this. Because they have two different wing tips for depending on the version, I suppose, you're supposed to take this E5, and that's gonna magically fit into this dogtooth shape they have on the end here. You really have to be kidding me. There were a dozen ways to handle this better, and this was not one of them. I can assure you of that. So this is going to be a lot of fun to put together. I can see a lot of CA and sanding in my future and rescribing, which I'm a big fan of at this point, obviously. So that's going to be the next thing I'm going to do. I'll get the wings together. I'll get these two pieces leveled out so it sits right. I'll somehow magically get this attached and filled and sanded and rescribed. The next time you see me, these two wings will be assembled and we'll get them onto the fuselage. So good luck to me. Through the magic of video, it's 4 days since I said I was starting on the wings. I've got the wings done. And I'll just run through this quickly. This is the completed wing without the pylons attached. You put the two halves together, and then you have to put the wingtip. There's two different wingtips. I don't know if you can see it still. There might be some ghost seams there. If only I could get that to focus. Might be too close. But there's a dog tooth pattern on the end of the wing, and then you attach the wingtip, and you just can't clean that out. What I wound up doing was, after I glued the wingtip on and made sure it was as flat as I could get it, I applied a thick bead of thick CA on the top and the bottom, and then I had to go back and it was similar to what I had to do with the fuselage, and sand. I've spent the last 4 days literally sanding down CA covered seams on the front and the back of these two wings. So they're both done. After I sanded down those ugly seams, if you have the ICM kit, let me know how they approach the wingtips, the wing assembly in general, on their MiG-25 kits, because it's got to be better than this. Because the amount of work that you have to put into getting these wings done. I had the MiG-25 PD kit when it first came out, and to be honest, I threw it in the garbage because this was more work than I wanted to do on a wing, but I'm doing it because Chip sent the kit and asked me to do a build review, so don't say anything. So after I sanded these down, sanded them smooth, then I had to go back, as always, take my, use my photo etch ruler, use my Tamiya rescriber, one of these. It's the first time I've actually used a legit scriber, and it's for the purpose, it works terrific. You just draw it across the panel line lightly, and then you get nice, reasonable depth panel lines. Then I had to go back with my ever popular pointy tool, and using my pointy tool, I literally poked every rivet all over again on these. That includes on these stabilizer things, as well as these ECM pods on the wingtips. So everything here has been re-riveted. Then you put the ailerons on. There's the wings. So that took a couple of days. I just finished the vertical stabilizers today. Honestly, they're not bad, but the detail is very weakly molded on these. So you can see I rescribed and re-riveted these on the outsides, the sides that face out from the center of the fuselage. To be quite honest, I kept the riveting and scribing on the insides of the fins, because once it's done, it's not like I'm gonna be going ape on the insides. I may, before I put this together, I may go back and just draw an X-Acto blade across the panel lines on the insides of the fins. But they went together relatively painlessly. On the right fin, oh, that's coming off. These little tiny pointy things on the backs, the antennas are very fragile. The wingtip on the right fin is separate because there's two different ones. The one in the instructions, I went and checked photographs. This is the correct one. It went on, and it's the only place I've ever seen Kitty Hawk make something fit across a panel line properly. You know, so they actually used the panel line to make that. So these fins are done. So I've got two here. Those are done. And then I took the horizontal, I think these are really called stabilators, because they're stabilizers, but they're elevators as well, because they rotate as a unit. Again, I rescribed and re-riveted the tops of them. If you're going to look at the bottom of them, God bless you, because I'm not going to... You have to strike a balance on how much effort you want to put into it. Is this ever going to be, for me personally, is this ever going to be like something I would take to a contest? Probably not. Is it something I would like to do as good a job as I can on it and show you what is possible? So again, I'm working to the best of my ability on this, but I have to balance the time I'm putting into it with the final product. So, you know, how much time do you want to put into it? One of the things I'm going to do now that I was holding off on was I'm going to paint the nose gear leg. I'm going to paint that gray, and I'm going to wind up putting that in now in the nose gear bay. I'm going to use epoxy for it, just to make sure I get a good solid joint on it. Reason being, these gear legs, the main gear legs are already in, and I'm constantly leaving this laying on its nose. I can't put any of the other, I don't want to put any parts on the bottom part of the nose, because I'll wind up breaking them off. So I'm going to epoxy that in just to give me something to set this level. Something else I've noticed during dry fitting, you have these little pieces that go in, H23 and H22. And what I found is you may want to adjust the height of those, because if you put them in the way that they come from the factory, then your stabilators are going to be pointing somewhat downward. So like that instead of flat. So if you want them level, then you got to trim those back, all right? I'm gonna stop here. I'll show you how I put all the wings and everything on. We'll film that, and then we'll just do time lapse. All right, so we'll take it from there. I think we got as far as we're getting today. This actually looks like an airplane now. I hope that the part where I was putting the putty on and cleaning it came out. Well, by the time you see this, you'll know whether or not it came out. Just had to apply I put some Vallejo white putty on these where the fins meet up with the fuselage. If you set these fins in and they kind of almost snap in, the tabs are a little short, but if you get them in and put a bead of glue and then just cant them outward slightly where the gap closes up, then you're just left with like a somewhat irregular gap. But then they actually sit at the right angle, they'll look correct. So those went on just fine, no complaints. A little bit of putty. The wings went on just fine, amazingly. And I only needed a little bit of white putty here to fill a small gap. And on the bottom, same thing. I just put a little bead of white putty on each side and then cleaned it out just to make sure everything was kind of solid. Put the stabilators on. I used a drop of CA on where each one joins, just to give it a little more stability. And I checked them with a ruler to make sure they were at the same height. So they're at the same height. I said I was going to paint the nose gear leg and then epoxy it in. I'll do the paint later. Nobody's going to look all the way up in there. I can do that with a brush. I'll spray the outside when I paint the rest of the plane. But this is epoxied in, so it's nice and solid. So this is sitting, on the gear legs, it sits nice and solidly. The wheels fit. I test fit the wheels. They fit all right. I don't think there's going to be any issues with them. So next episode, we'll add on all the rest of the little doodads that go on the fuselage before we paint. We'll prime it. And then we'll take a look at the paints we're going to use. Oh, and we also have to, before we paint the plane, we have to figure out what we're doing with the cockpits. We're just going to put the seats in empty with the canopies open. We're going to put the pilots in. We're going to close it up. What we're going to do. I already kind of made up my own mind, but if you have an opinion, let me know in the comments. But I kind of know what I'm going to do at this point. So next episode, we'll finish up the canopies, the cockpits. We'll put the rest of the antennas on, and then let's try and end the next part, at least with this plane and primer. Now that the wings and everything are done, I think we're going to move a lot quicker because all that tedious riveting is done. So once again, thanks for stopping in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it and you leave me a thumbs down, that's fine too. But if you're going to do that, at least let me know why you're doing it. Let's have a discussion and see if we can figure out what makes us all kind of enjoy this a little bit more. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to my channel. I'd like to thank the 31 people who've subscribed to date. Thank you very much. I hope I can keep giving you guys stuff that we can all share and kind of learn from together. So I will see you guys next time. Take care.